be successful, what's your ideal statistical combination at the post? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Look, I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest. More than anything, we need guys that have like the daily habits to play really hard, really physical and aggressive. And I think whether that's what we've played at the 5 position, primarily with George and Robert, or at the 4 with Tristan and Jazz, we just need like a lot of effort, a lot of physicality, a lot of rebounding, ball screen, communication. So I don't know what it looks like numbers-wise. We're not trying to square peg in a round hole statistically. I just know that if those guys play really hard and competitively and communicate, that they'll get lost in the game and things will go their way. I've been particularly pleased, obviously, with Condit in terms of how we're challenging him on a daily basis and what he's done to this point. But I think for all 4 of those guys, they all are capable of playing better, and we're going to hold them accountable to doing so. And whatever the numbers look like, they look like.
With George, are you part of his resurgence from what he used to look like compared to what he is today, or was that Puerto Rico, or was that a lot, just a combination of stuff?
Well, for George, when George makes the decision that he wants to give all his effort every single day, he can be a really impactful player. And whether that happened in the spring, the Puerto Rico trip, whether it's happening now, what George needs to keep in mind is that every single day you build those habits, and then those habits show up in the game. So I'm not exactly sure where, and I also look, I don't think George has played like his best basketball. He's played great. So I think more than anything, it's obviously last year wasn't his best, and we need him to continue to play better because he's capable.
Through 80 minutes of basketball, is there anything you feel like you know about your team?
I know who we need to be to be successful, and I think we tried to identify that, in this offseason leading into the season. We need to be a team that is, pressures the heck out of the other team in the half court. We saw that showed up for us on Friday better than it did on Tuesday because we had a lot of unnecessary fouls and just gambles. So I know we have to be that team. I also know we have to be a rebounding team. And even though Oregon State has a lot of size and athleticism, we out-rebounded them. I think that's something we also have to be. The one area that we're continuing to work on that we're not where we would like to be is valuing the ball. Unnecessary turnovers, and they're happening in a lot of ways, whether it's a moving screen, a ball that is tipped out of bounds, a travel, a turnover that's a live ball turnover. So I also know that we have to really value the basketball. And so our team has to be an effort-based group that every night when we take the floor that we play a lot harder than our opponent. And when we do that, good things will happen. So, again, I know it's probably not the answer you want. I don't know, like, statistically, and it may not always be pretty or that sort of thing, but it needs to be scrappy, it needs to be competitive, and we need to be flying around and then see what happens.
You guys have obviously been really good defensively, but you still got to put the ball in the basket. You mentioned the turnovers. Can turnovers and good to less than good three-point shooting live together, or you've got to fix one or the other?
Yeah.
Ideally both. But.
Yeah, and look, like, I think part of the three-point shooting not being as great as we'd love at this point is, guys just getting into their rhythm, where their shot's going to come from, being really intentional about the quality of pass we're throwing. So I'd say more than anything when it comes to the shooting, there's a lot of guys that have made shots in college games that I have confidence will make those shots. It's more of just getting the rhythm of knowing where they come from and when they come. The turnover thing is something to me that we've got to clean up, and it's got to be with a tremendous sense of urgency because if we do that, I think even last game there was 2 threes that we made after a Tyrese Hunter dragged his foot and, Caleb hit a 3, and then Tristan and Erna drove it and, barreled over his guy, and Isaiah Brockington hit a 3, so we can't take the ball out of our hands. But I'd say the turnover thing is the one that I'm more focused on fixing immediately because I know that those guys will make the shots as they come.
Big picture-wise, I think everybody fell in love with talking about offense for the last 10 years with pace and space and 3-point. But is there, in your mind, a trend or a path to high-level success being shown with what Virginia did and what Texas Tech did, that maybe defense is shifting back to more prominence in how you can build a winner?
Yeah, I'll always be somebody that believes that, defensively, you set the tone for everything: mentality, toughness, physicality, competitive spirit, and that's what we're going to continue to build this program on. So, whether that's, to your point, what some others have done to build a program, that's how we're going to build it, and it's going to start on that end. I feel like, as a coach, we're going to continue to adapt to the strengths offensively of our personnel, but the constant is going to be defensive effort, defensive pressure, turning people over, getting out and leading the transition that way. So that's who we will be and what we will demand, and guys that know that when they come into this program, we will not compromise when it comes to that defensive effort and energy.
Whenever you've talked about Tyrese, you've always said that he's been very open to coaching, wanting to get better. What does he embrace getting better at from game 1 and 2 to game 2 to Tuesday night?
Well, the good thing is his focus defensively was much better because he was hampered with foul trouble on Tuesday, and then also he just took some unnecessary risks. I felt like on Friday he was really locked in. He kept his chest in front of the ball, and that was huge for us. I also think he's got to be a great game manager, which isn't easy for a freshman. I thought he did a better job Friday than Tuesday, and that's understanding time and score. It's understanding when we need to get the ball in the paint, who needs to get a touch, how to get the ball moving. And so there's a lot going on. And I felt like on Friday, he looked like he had made that progress. Again, it's a work in progress, and he and I spend a lot of time watching film together on what it needs to look like. But what I'll say about Tyrese Hunter is he really wants to be a great player. He really wants Iowa State to win, and he really cares about his teammates. And when you have those things, now it's just a byproduct of time every day that'll get him, where he needs to be at his best every night.
How would you evaluate what your guys' on-floor communication is defensively?
I would say it's probably for where we want it to be. It's below average at this point. I think there's a lot of times that we confuse ourselves because we don't talk early. So whether we're switching a screen or enacting a ball screen coverage, I would say it's below average as a group. For us to get it, to move forward, it's really important that our older guys who have played more college basketball have it be their habit every single time so that everybody knows what the plan is and what we're doing. Now, we have been fortunate that even though we haven't communicated as well, our effort's been good enough to still stay in the play and compete in the play, even though we've created that, miscommunication or confusion for a moment. So I'd say it's below average, but it's definitely another one of those points of urgency that we've got to clean up, and we've got to do it quickly.
What do you?
Is that an easy fix? Just to tell these guys you got to talk.
Yeah, it's to me, everything comes down to what do you do every single day, and then those habits show up in the game. So until we prove to ourselves that every single day that is what we do in practice, it's not going to be the way we need it to be in the game. So you don't play above your level of habits when the games come. You play to your level. So what we're really trying to instill in our guys is whether it's a 5-on-5, a 5-on-0, a drill, live play, that how you do anything is how you do everything. We got to do it right. And if we do it right every single day, we have a better chance for that to show up on game night.
New coach inheriting a dreadful record from last season. What do you sell on the recruiting trail?
For us, number one, it's going to be about the relationships that we build that are meaningful and life lasting. I think there's a lot of guys that have played here that I'm still close with, so I think the relationship is important. The player development piece. If you look at the guys that have come into this program, we haven't gotten 5-star guys. We've gotten a lot of guys that have come in here and had success above the level of what some would have thought. Whether that's the Monte Morrises or Taylor Horton Tuckers, Tyrese Halliburtons, or even if you go back a few years, with some guys. I'd also say for transfers, I don't know what the exact number is, but it's something like 6 that we've had that have come here, won games here, had success at Iowa State, and gone on to play at the next level as well. So we're not going to skip any steps. I think what we're selling is we have an unbelievable fan base. Hilton Coliseum is truly one of the best places to play in all of college basketball. we're going to invest in the people that come here, the young men that come in our program. They're going to get better. They're going to develop, and if they put the time in and if they work hard every day, then they're going to have those opportunities not only to win a lot of games in a Cyclone jersey, but to hopefully play basketball at the level of their goals following college.
It's easy for the recruits to see what guys you just mentioned are doing currently in the pros, but do you also bring to mind, talk to them about, like, maybe Chris Babb, for example? I mean, some of those guys that you had.
Yeah, I mean, we're really proud of a lot of those guys. I mean, it's Babb, it's Melvin Edgem, it's Tyrus McGee, it's Will Clyburn. There's guys that have had, extremely long and fruitful careers overseas, and you don't realize a lot of those guys are putting themselves in position on a daily basis that they might be fortunate enough to not ever have to work a real job if they're smart with their money. So we've had quite a few of them. Even Craig Brackens and Deontay Garrett are still playing professionally. So there's a number of those guys that have had that opportunity. What's more important to me is that, like, when they come in here, that they know this is business. It's about work capacity, what we do every single day. And whether your goal is to go to grad school, to be an accountant, to be a social worker, to play overseas, NBA, whatever it is, that we are going to challenge you and push you every single day to be your best at whatever it is. And then when this opportunity here is done for those guys, that they can go forward and be successful in whatever they want to do.
I know you've coached elsewhere and obviously coached here before. Has anything surprised you 2 games in, just about being the head man here?
I wouldn't say there's surprises. I'd say that for me, every day, it's trying to develop that pride in our program by everybody that's involved with our program, from our support staff, our managers, our coaches, our players, because we have to have a tremendous sense of pride in Iowa State, Cyclone basketball, in what we do here. And I think more than anything, that's my daily challenge to myself, is get the pride where it needs to be. So that everything that we do looks one way, that everybody looks at it and says, that's how it should look. That's what winning looks like. And so I'm not as worried about what happened in the past. I'm more worried about what do we do every single day and everything that we do so that what we do looks like winning, because when it does, the winning will follow those habits.